Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Savance, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a great show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. Also, we're going to be launching finally our Dreamers Pro community. This coming out on the 27th of this month. If you want to get early access to receive a one-time offer of 70% off, please make sure you join the waiting list. It's only available to people on the waiting list. We have about 500 signups so far, so if you want to be a part of that, please check that out. We have that pinned in the comments and the description below. Anyway, let's get into today's show. So yesterday we had a field day on JJ Redick because JJ Redick absolutely annoys me. I don't hide my feelings about it. The guy really annoys me. And the shows were centered on the state of affairs with the NBA. Everybody's been talking about the declining viewership in the NBA. The most important number to understand here is this. The NBA has lost 40% of his audience over the last 10 years. Not too long ago, they just celebrated their 75th anniversary. So basically they lost what took them to build, 60 years? And they lost it in a decade? That's incredible. But that's what we are, right? That's what we are. And people seem to have various reasons for why they think that's the case. Some people talk about the style of play. Some talk about load management. Some talk about the overall attitude of the NBA towards its its fans. People talk about how the players go out there and perform. You don't need to look any further than the last two All-Star games. And then, of course, the NBA this season came up with a new gimmick for this upcoming All-Star weekend, which players like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Anthony Davis are already saying that they're not fans of, right? So it's a total mess. But some people out there seem to believe that it's not really that the NBA is bad. It's the fact that the negative coverage that the NBA is getting, that's the reason for the decline in ratings. Not that the product is bad, but it's the negative coverage of the sport. So what happened? Yesterday, I came across a clip from Fox Sports Radio featuring the odd couple, Rob Parker and Kelvin, and they were there reacting to some comments, the same comments that we reacted to yesterday, from JJ Redick. And apparently what I missed in covering the show yesterday was that JJ Redick's comments were actually targeted towards Charles Barkley and inside the NBA. I didn't catch that particular wrinkle in the story. I didn't get that part. But apparently those were who his comments were directed towards. So when Rob Parker got a hold of the story, you know that Rob was just absolutely going to go berserk. And folks, that is exactly what he did. He absolutely lambasted JJ Redick and just absolutely went off on him, and I enjoyed every single second of him doing so. But before we even get into what Rob Parker had to say about JJ Redick, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports with over 10 million members. PrizePicks makes it easy to get real money action on the sports and players you love. You pick more or less on at least two for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. For example, this week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at the upcoming NBA schedule and selecting Stephen Curry for more than 29 points and Kevin Durant for more than 27 points and Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds and Luka Doncic for more than 8 assists. If you're like me and you like to play it safe, you'll love PrizePicks' new feature, Flex Plays. It's the safest way to play. You can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. Plus, you can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. On top of this, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money as quick as in 15 minutes. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Rob had to say in response to JJ Redick pointing fingers at Charles Barkley and inside the NBA. And then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Rob Parker had to say here.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think JJ Redick is full of thank you.
He's full of it. I got you.
Poppycock. He's full of it. Because they're giving us way too much credit, okay? The inside the NBA, the reason actually why it's so popular and why it's done so well for a long time is because they are honest. You know what people don't watch? People don't watch your local post-game shows where it's rah-rah home team. That's what people don't watch. Where I'm going to watch my team get blown out, and you're going to tell me a story about how they were in the game for the first 3 minutes and how they can build off of that next week, next game, or whatever. That's not what people want to hear. That's not the reason. It has nothing to do with Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith. Zero. The reason people aren't watching is the quality of the game. And I respect Charles Barkley and those guys and TNT for being honest with the fans. It is a nationally acclaimed show. Everyone's tried to copy it. What they can't copy is the authenticity of the comments about what's going on in front of you, what you're watching. They have not always been bashing the product. Have they over the last few years? Yes, they have, and rightfully so. They're talking about why the ratings are down like this, because the product stinks. Don't give the messenger all this credit that, Charles Barkley says the game's unwatchable, so let me turn it off. I'm not watching it. Really? Really, Kelvin?
Right.
Really? Come on, man. That is a cop-out. That's too easy, and that's not what fans want. I can't wait to hear from the listeners, because I don't believe that people just want to hear the good stuff. They want you to be honest. That's what we do on this radio show. You can hate me, dislike me, or be mad at me, but you know I'm going to give you an honest take. Kelvin, that's what people want. I'm not trying to brag about what we do here, but we try to keep it 100. Seriously, people don't want to waste their time when you're pulling their chain. I just think to blame, and I know Jason McIntyre was the one who originally dropped this on Colin's show, and it got picked up. Rob G, I think, went viral or whatever, and now people are now, piggybacking off of it. But I think he's wrong. I think what's different from all the other shows, which I agree, state-run, NFL Network, state-run. I've been at the MLB Network for a few years now, Kelvin. Not one time have I been told, don't be negative,
don't say
or
this, don't do that. Yeah.
Don't say this, don't say that. I'm being straight up, not once. Because if I got that message, then I don't need to be on. Okay? I'm going to be honest. This bad, whatever. And matter of fact, I can remember one of the executives saying the reason that they wanted me was because everybody else was milquetoast.
Yeah. Well, you ain't milquetoast. Now you might be peanut butter with peanut butter and jelly with some milk.
I gotta have the milk.
You gotta have the milk, but you ain't milquetoast.
So you heard what Rob Parker had to say there. What are my thoughts on this? I 100% concur with Rob there. JJ Redick is not serious. He's absolutely not. I said this yesterday. I'm going to reiterate the point. Inside the NBA has been around for about 3 decades now. All right. Which means that they were around when the ratings were doing fine. And they have the same style of coverage they had then, and it's the same one that they have today. The same style, which basically means that they're going to point out things that they think is good, and they're going to be honest about things that they think is bad. This is how it has been for decades. So to try to say that it shows like Inside the NBA for its negative coverage of the NBA is a cop-out, and it's lazy, and it's not really dealing with the real issues. Because in your comments, I heard nothing about, hey, listen, maybe we need to look at the style of play. Maybe we need to address load management. How can you blame the fact that when the commissioner, Adam Silver, about 2 or 3 or 4 years ago was talking about the science says that load management works, and then turns around a few years later and says, we discovered that the science says that it doesn't work, and then try to blame that on Inside the NBA? Like, help me figure it out. When fans show up to NBA arenas to watch a particular athlete and they find out that this guy's not going to be playing, how is that on Inside the NBA? No, seriously. How is it on Inside the NBA when you have a big name player missing games on the road when you know that fans are only going to be able to see them once a year if it's in a different conference? How is that on Inside the NBA? How is it on Inside the NBA when last year we saw a 200-point game in the All-Star game? How is that on Inside the NBA? How is that on them? How is it on Inside the NBA when on any given night you can watch a game where you see 80 to 100 3-pointers being shot in the game? How is that on Inside the NBA? You're going to blame the decline in ratings because of what people are saying. Those guys are just being honest, and we thank God for voices like them. That's why a lot of people were scared when we found out that Inside the NBA was going to be canceled after the season. We were like, what? Because they're the last hope for sports media, because they're the ones that are keeping it honest. And I also want to say this, and I think it's important that we point this out. A lot of guys, you see, athletes were complaining about the coverage of journalists and big companies like ESPN and Fox Sports, and how they were covering the sport, that they were biased and all of this. So they said, you know what, we're going to go into the space of media, and then we're going to start really telling it like it is. And you know what we found out after about 2 or 3 years? That they were just as bad. There is no real good athlete podcast. There isn't really. Because most of those podcasts, including JJ's, was all about agendas. JJ Redick's podcast, The Old Man and the Three, he put that podcast together to essentially defend NBA players all day long. And there was no better example than when Ben Simmons went there and he basically handed him softball questions. He was treating him like a baby. So JJ keeps acting like as if he's above the fray, like as if he has this thing figured out, when he doesn't. JJ needs to spend more time trying to figure out how the Lakers are going to get to the playoffs than try to analyze what Charles Barkley and these guys are doing, because they're actually good at their job. Are you good at yours? Charles Barkley is at the pinnacle of his profession. Are you at the pinnacle of yours? This is the pertinent question here. JJ has a lot of confidence and arrogance, and there's nothing that warrants it. He's very arrogant as a coach. He hasn't done nothing as a coach. He was very arrogant as an analyst. He had no tenure in the business to warrant that level of arrogance. So for you to try to point fingers in the direction of Charles Barkley, it's like, yo, bro, pump your brakes. Charles Barkley's is the best. He's the best when it comes to this, son. You're not. Not when you were covering sports, and certainly in coaching, you ain't the Charles Barkley of coaching either. So you need to take several seats and relax with that. But if you look at a lot of these NBA player podcasts, most of them are not keeping it funky. Most of them are not keeping it funky. If we want to talk about dudes that are in the independent space, where you're like, yo, son is keeping it a stack, 1,000. I'm going to name the dudes that I think keep it 100. Just my opinion, the dudes. Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes. I'm not going to mention the guys on TV because they're on TV. Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, Rashard McCann, Brandon Jennings. That's about it. Those are the dudes that I've seen call it like it is, regardless of whether or not we're in the NBA fraternity or I know this dude on ESPN. Those dudes keep it 1,000. The rest of them are pretty much doing the exact same thing they criticize journalists for doing. The rest of them are doing that. So this thing of JJ Redick trying to point fingers at the coverage is like, yo, bro, you're part of the problem. When you sat up there and let Ben Simmons get away with what he got away with, you're part of the problem, bro. And the product does suck. It has nothing to do with the coverage. Because when the product was good, Inside the NBA and all of those guys were covering it the exact same way they cover it right now. So let's stop with all this. Again, you can never take JJ Redick seriously. A lot of you do, and I know the reason a lot of you do, which I'll not mention here, but I don't take him seriously the way some of you do. I don't. I do not. I wasn't ready to jump to conclusions because, oh, this guy's the next Pat Riley. Nah, you gotta show me, son. You gotta show me, son. I don't want to hear nothing about you the next Pat Riley. You gotta show me. Show me. And so far, I ain't seen none of it. But a lot of you dudes was running around twerking it up all over the place, pouring honey all over your belly buttons, talking about, yo, JJ Redick, he that dude. A lot of you dudes was ready to criticize Darvin Ham to save JJ Redick, and we know why. I'm not going to bring it up on this show, but we know why you dudes did that. It's about damn time they start calling this joker out. It's about damn time. Shout out to Rob Parker for keeping it a stack with him. Shout out to the dudes I seen call him out. And shout out to Brandon Jennings. And shout out to Nick Young. Those are the only dudes I've seen so far. There may be others that have actually called out dude. The rest of them are up there talking about he's an incredible coach and he this and he that. Shout out to the dudes that is keeping it 100. Forget about what these other guys are saying. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.